Okay, and now we move on to the rest of the program here. Our next speaker is Michael Robinet. He is one of the most insightful, savvy analysts in the automotive industry. He really knows what's going on. I can't wait to see what he's got to talk about. He's the executive director of IHS Market Advisory. Michael, great to see you, and you've got the floor.
John, thank you so much. And thank you to Sandy and Glenn and Carolyn for the opportunity to hit you hard with some secular changes going on. So in light of that, we're not going to talk about chips or overall forecasts or anything like that. Let's just get right into the topic du jour. And that's really been happening for quite some time, but is really gaining acceleration. And that's all of this focus on BEV, on electrification. I've got 3 slides today, going to quickly bring them up. This first one basically underscores that it's a global movement in what we call the major markets: Europe, North America, China. Those are the major markets, and those are the ones that are driving BEV integration very quickly. And I think a couple of factors that are pretty important. First of all, the vehicle manufacturers are focusing the vast majority of their capital, of their resources towards electrification. Make no bones about it. If it comes to an internal combustion engine, yes, they've designed it. It's on the road. They're going to keep refining it. But the real rubber that meets the road from a perspective of development and capital, both human and financial, is really being focused on the BEV side. And this is very, very important for Michigan as we make that transition from an ICE to more of a BEV-focused area. You're finding that the traditional OEMs, let's just call them the Western OEMs today, they're starting that electrification push within their home markets. So whether it be a GM or a Ford in North America, or companies like the German manufacturers or the Japanese manufacturers, they're starting at home, but they are quickly going to expand in other parts of the world. For instance, GM moving to China, or the German manufacturers bringing electrification over here. So it is quickly becoming a global phenomena and globally integrated. This is critical. And then lastly, when you take a look at electrification, it started interestingly with really small vehicles where the industry thought that would be key. Then it moved, we're seeing it right now, move to the luxury side and the performance side. The aforementioned Mach-E or the new Hummer pickup truck. These are all really critical going forward. But we're increasingly going to find it's going to move into the mass market pretty quickly towards the middle of this decade. Next slide, please. Okay, just a simple pinwheel. What we want to underscore here is this is our view of the market by 2027 in terms of vehicle production, but by OEM. And what's critical here is that we're finding that we have, with BEV, there's a new economies of scale. Battery manufacturing, cell manufacturing, e-motor, e-drive. These are all making substantial changes in terms of how the industry thinks about itself. What the new economies of scale. Should I have 5 battery plants serving me within a region, or where I used to have maybe 8 or 9 engine plants serving me within a region? So again, it's a new economies of scale. It's a new perspective, and we're going to find that it's going to drive more and more consolidation. Smaller manufacturers are going to find it more and more difficult, number one, to differentiate themselves, but also number two, to gain strong leading edge economies of scale in which they're going to be able to compete up against the larger players. And some of those larger players are the new ones that are coming onto the market or have been here for some time, like a Tesla or a Rivian, or you've got a number of new players in China like Xiaopeng and others that are coming into the market and moving very, very quickly. And then lastly, can we move to the next slide? And for my last slide, it's a little bit of a build-up slide, but I want to talk about how the world is changing for the industry, and especially given the secular changes within BEV or electrification. Number one, we are trained right now with respect to multi-energy platforms that have an internal combustion engine, maybe sometimes a plug-in hybrid, definitely a mild hybrid, sometimes a full hybrid, are integrated into this multi-energy, multi-propulsion capability platforms. There's a lot going on in these platforms, but we're still beholden to the more traditional sort of 5 years, we're going to do a major change. Maybe every 10 years, we do a major platform change. And probably every 2 to 3 years, we'll do a minor or moderate change to the vehicle to change up the styling, maybe add some performance, maybe do something to the powertrain, again, or add a body style. You get the general idea. If we can build one more time, as we go into the BEV world, it's a completely different world. We're now almost going back to the old days of body on frame, where the frame is now the electrical skateboard. And flexibility is so much faster, so much more capable. We're able to change battery chemistry, software, even repackage e-motors much more easily in these structures than we ever could before. And so you're able to change the width of the vehicle, the length of the vehicle, the wheelbase and the track. You're able to make these changes much more readily with the new structures. So our research tells us that these structures are going to change much less frequently. The OEMs are hopefully counting on it. They're putting a lot of money up front, and they want to make sure that they can get the return on investment back, especially as BEV continues to grow later this decade and into the beginning of the next decade. So with that, you have this new cadence that the industry needs to adapt to. We can't keep thinking in 5-year buckets any longer. It's really, really important that we start thinking in sort of 6 and 7-year buckets, but much more frequent changes to batteries, styling, exterior styling, interior styling, where the customer really feels the differentiation in the vehicle. Because going forward, how your battery performs is going to be expected, whether it's a small vehicle and a cheap and cheerful mass market offering, or all the way up to luxury. That battery capability is going to be somewhat ubiquitous throughout that whole movement as we go forward. So a lot of secular changes hitting the industry. I haven't even spoken about autonomous and the connectivity. Frankly, the BEV side, as we say at IHS, it's instead of, and not like ADAS, which is in addition to. And a secular change that our state, the state of Michigan, has to grab a hold of and really take forward and move the baton. So thank you. And John, I look forward to some quick discussion.
Yeah, very interesting what you're saying there, Michael. Very eye-opening. Of course, Michigan has got so much investment and structure and talent in combustion technology and manufacturing. We need a plan in place because, as you point out, this is going to come very fast and furious. We're going to see the impact this decade, and we need a plan in place to be able to make that transition.